different than my Zoom meetings.
A little bit.
The lighting seems a little better and everything.
Yeah. Any chance you could take the hat off?
Yeah, I can.
You look great, Coach.
I would have.
You want a brush?
Nah, I'm good.
Can they see him yet?
Not yet. All right, we're going to start video and audio. They should be able to see and hear you. Wait a second.
You want to
All
just
right.
get started with questions?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Okay.
Whenever you're ready, Coach.
Hi guys, how you doing?
How you doing, Coach?
Everything's all good. How you guys getting along? Good to see you guys again. Miss you guys, you know. Not really, but it sounds good.
Like your goatee, you're looking good.
You like that? I'm trying to
So
be
good.
I want to be the distinguished gentleman from New Orleans, okay?
You look good.
It's laziness is what it is.
So you've let us know several times that you definitely want to travel with a team to Orlando and such. Do you have any expectation at all which way the NBA may decide regarding your case in particular?
I have no idea. I really don't, you know. I mean, my plans right now is to be with the team in Orlando, and I'm looking forward to it, really. I think that, you know, as the season was put on hiatus, you know, we were playing really good basketball. So, you know, hopefully we can get back to that. That's why I'm not treating it really as a training camp. I would treat it more of picking up where we left off when the season went on hiatus.
Hey, Coach, just this pandemic in general for everybody is just kind of like, you know, how much risk you're willing to tolerate to do something. Just can you explain a little bit of why you are comfortable, you know, wanting to do this thing?
Well, number one, I mean, you know, to be honest with you, you know, these guys, we had a struggle, and you guys know, I mean, we lost 13 straight games. You know, usually when that happens in this league and really any other league, or, you know, there's a good chance that the players just kind of quit on you. That never happened here. And so, you know, they was in the foxhole and stood by me. I want to do the same thing for them. I want to be there for them. I want to be in Orlando, and I want to give us an opportunity to try to do well in the situation there.
Alvin, do you talk to potentially, knowing that it's a possibility, you know, Chris Finch or somebody about what does happen just as a preparation if I'm not there? I mean, is it in the back of your mind, or is it something that, you know what, we're going to act as if I'm going until I'm not going?
Well, I think you cover all areas, you know, and we've sat down and talked, and we've done things like that, but everything so far, you know, I mean, we hit on that, but everything so far that we've talked about is that me being there and coaching the team, and exactly how we're going to play this thing out as a collective staff, really.
Hey, I know you can't really speculate on what else, but how confident are you that the NBA is going to be able to pull this off and, you know, get all the way to the end?
Well, you'd have to hope so, and I mean, I would think that they're going through every precaution that they could possibly take, and you know, this is brand new to everyone. You know, this is not something that you can go back and take a blueprint from another time that it happened and correct all the things that were wrong in those situations. This is new to everyone involved, so I know that the NBA is going to do complete due diligence, and you know, you'd have to hope that everybody's going to cooperate with the rules that are going to be in place. And if that's the case, yeah, I think it can be pulled off.
Gentry, I know obviously plenty of players feel like they have a huge platform here with everything going on in the world, especially from a social justice standpoint. But how much do you think, just from an overarching point of view, America as a whole could really benefit from sports being back and just kind of a distraction maybe from seeing bad headlines in the news all the time, I guess?
Well, I think it can be somewhat of a distraction, but I don't think it's going to ever replace what's going on right now from a social justice standpoint. I think right now everyone is is very geared in and locked into having changes happen in this country. You know, it's been a long, long time. Someone asked me a question last week about, you know, Juneteenth, and my answer to that was, you know, yeah, it's a heck of a day, you know, the freeing of the slave, the Emancipation Proclamation, but it also speaks, it says a lot about our country, that it's been 155 years since that happened. And, you know, we made progress, but I think there's a heck of a lot more progress we can make. And it should be done, obviously, a lot quicker than it has been up to this point.
Coach, y'all prefer a fast-paced offense and get out and go. Are you at all concerned with guys being in good enough condition to run that type of offense still?
Well, I think that's something that we've got to, obviously, the first couple of days of practice, we'll be able to look and see where our guys are from a conditioning standpoint. A lot of our guys have been they've been working their butts off. I think that they knew that eventually this day was going to come. So I don't think we've had anyone just laying around on the couch. So I think these guys, it's within them to try to keep themselves in shape. That's what they've done, you know, throughout their whole career. So it may not be exactly where we want to have them, but I think that all of these guys have been working pretty hard.
Hey, Alvin, Mark Medina here with you. I said that I hope you and the family have been able to hang in there during these tough times. I was curious, what do you initially anticipate what coaching will be like in the setup, given no fans in the arena and social distancing rules on the bench? What do you kind of your initial things that you're anticipating, what those adjustments will be like?
Well, I think it's going to be something different, you know, than anyone else. One of us ever experienced. You know, we did a call last week, and Nick Nurse from Toronto, they were talking about playing without people in the stands, and he said, half of my career I've coached with people not in the stands. I've been in the G League and the CBA, so I thought that was a pretty comical response. But I think that it's something that you will adjust to. It's going to be completely different. I do think, and Chris Finch said this, I do think your bench is going to be very important from an enthusiasm standpoint. I think that's where all the energy is going to come from. So you're going to have a really good bench, but it's going to be different in that the games are going to be up and down, and there's going to be great plays made where there's not going to be a lot of cheering or yelling or high-fiving, and that's going to be different for all of these guys, because I don't think anyone's ever played under those circumstances, and as a coach, I don't think anyone's coached under those circumstances. But you know, as a coach, though, I think it's almost like you know, you're in a practice situation, because you know, obviously you have very few people there in practice situations most of the time. So it's not a big change for the coaching part of it. I think it's going to be a pretty major change for the players out on the floor.
How concerned are you that things that you might say to officials and players?
I knew that was coming. We're going to be very nice to the officials, okay? It's going to be in a situation, obviously we're in a situation where everything is going to pretty much be heard. So, you know, I think just the fact that we're back playing, and really a lot of times what you guys think are really demonstrative responses to things, it's more of a competitive situation. And the one thing I will say, we have the best officials in all of sports, and they're very, very good at adapting. And stop laughing, Caroline, okay? They adapt to situations, okay? They really do. You know, they give you a lot of leeway, and then when it's time to cut it off, they're very good at communicating that to you, and then we're pretty good at they're pretty good at allowing us a certain distance and then cutting it off.
Alvin, Griff talked earlier about he thinks mental toughness is going to be a key to this whole situation. How do you as a staff, you and your staff, improve mental toughness with the team? Like, what would you all talk to them about? How do you try to address that?
Well, it's a good question, and I think one of the things that communication is going to be key. I mean, you're going to really have to be on top of things, and being isolated for a minimum of 45 days, and a maximum of almost 3 months, almost 90 days. This is something that no one's ever experienced either. So you're going to have to make sure that you're communicating with your guys. If there's something on their mind, they got to feel comfortable enough to come in and talk about it, and not just the basketball part of it, but just being in an environment where you're limited as to how you can go and where you can travel, and being really in a bubble is going to be different for everyone. So it's going to be a challenge, but I got to think that communication is going to be the whole key there. And if your players are at a point where this is, from a mental standpoint, is just wearing on them, then you're going to have to find some solutions to that.
You talked about different adjustments that guys are going to have to make. Do you have any concerns for Josh Hart that he's not going to have any fans to talk trash with during games, or jaw with that makes it three?
He does enough of that with his own coaching staff, so he'll still have something to lean back on. So no fans are there, so I guess we'll be the target of his rant and raves. Okay.
Alvin, at this point right now, do you expect all of your starters and maybe even your bench players too? Do you expect them to make the trip to Orlando and want to play? I mean, I know right now there are some players who are 50-50, I guess you could say.
Yeah, Andrew, no one on the team has ever said that they were not going. So I think it's a situation where these guys are ready to get back into playing and ready to compete. So no one has ever mentioned that, nor has it ever come up in any of the conversations that I've had with them, on the Zoom calls or individual calls, that they would not be going to Orlando.
Hey, Coach, I've seen a couple of the guys, use their platforms and show that they've been peacefully protesting over the last few weeks. Some of the young guys, Jackson, Drew, Derek Favors. What have your conversations been like with just your players over the past few weeks and months about just the moment that we have right now in America?
Well, that's a good question also, and I think what we've talked about is that the opportunity that it presents for all of us, really, to be able to speak up, to be able to speak out. We talked a lot about some of the situations that have happened, and I'd have to say that I was involved in a protest march here with my son, from City Park down to the precinct. I think it's the 5th precinct or one of those, and I'd have to say that it makes you proud of New Orleans, the way everything has been handled here with the protests, from the standpoint of it being peaceful protests and trying to communicate and educate and things along those lines. So the guys have talked about that, and obviously they have a platform with their social media and the Players Association in general. But I think it's a situation where, and we've talked about this a lot, where it's about communication and education. And, maybe it's time to have a tough conversation with one of your friends that you guys kind of avoided. It's been great because my son, he's had a lot of conversations with his friends that he went to school with at Newman. And, and for a lot of those guys, they just said, I didn't know. It's not that I didn't care, but I just didn't know. So I think educating and having conversation and being able to talk to each other and being able to ask questions is what our guys are trying to also implement in their voice, that is going to be heard in these situations.
Alvin, what kind of challenges does the format when the season resumes present as far as roster depth? Not just maybe for your team, but for all the teams.
Well, it's going to be interesting because it's been a long time since the guys played, their last game. So it's going to be interesting from a conditioning standpoint where they are. But I don't anticipate any team playing guys long extended minutes, and I think especially in the first 3 scrimmage games that we'll have, I think you'll see coaches try to find out exactly where the conditioning is with their team, and then try to get the timing back, among other things. You know, we're really not going to be able to have any practices until we get there. You know, that would be in 5-on-5 situations. So I think those 3 games you'll try to figure that out, and then the rotations I think will be a little deeper with the bench. In that, you know, we're playing 8 games, really 11 games if you think about it, and that's coming back from really a long layoff. So I think we'll have to keep an eye on those situations.
How would you say that the Pelicans' depth, how do you expect that to be going into this relative to the previous portions of the season? I know there may be a few guys you might have a chance to get back, and then there's the two-way players. Talk about that.
Yeah, you know, I think that, you know, our depth was beginning to show, you know, before this thing happened. We had played really good basketball on the road, and I think more so than our depth, I think our starters and Zion and those guys were beginning to feel the chemistry, and their roles were so well defined by themselves, really, you know, that we were playing really good basketball, and we had guys coming in off the bench and understanding that they may play 5 minutes, they may play 3 minutes, they may play 10 minutes. And I think the most important thing for our guys, they've come to the understanding that winning is the number one thing, and all the other stuff would have to be put on the back burner. And I thought we were headed in that direction and playing good basketball.
Alvin, what's your reaction to the NBA, you know, finalizing these standings with, you know, winning percentage, and obviously that can take away head-to-head with some of those teams like Portland that you're going to be battling with? What was your initial reaction to that?
You know, we talked about this. I'm on the advisory committee. You know, we talk a lot about how all of this is going to work when we get back. And I think the one thing you got to understand that there was no way that they could ever come up with a plan that was going to be satisfactory to everyone, you know, or being fair to everyone. I think they worked their butts off to try to come up with a situation where it was going to be as fair as they could possibly make it. It gave everyone an opportunity. I do agree with the fact that, you know, Memphis was already in the playoff situation, so they should have an advantage. You know, I don't think you can argue with that. So I think what happens is that the teams that were going to be down there just wanted to have a legitimate chance to be involved in a situation where they had an opportunity to make the playoffs. And I think the NBA have presented that, and that's all you can ask for. So everything else is going to be really left up to the coach and the individual team as far as trying to get there and get involved in the playoffs.
Hey, Alvin, if I could have a moment of levity. I know last year you joked that, I mean, look, you worked for Donald Sterling. Last year you joked that the whole thing with Anthony Davis would be a chapter in the book. I mean, you've seen a lot of crazy things in the NBA in your time. Does this, I mean, maybe take the cake through lockouts and owners and trade demands and everything? I mean, this is more of a life and death situation, but nonetheless, another unprecedented situation that you're a head coach in dealing with in some capacity.
Yeah, I think, you know, Fletcher, I think everyone, this is different from everyone, you know, unless you're, you know, closing in on 100 years old or so, you know, from the last time that this happened. It is different than anybody anticipated. It's, you know, even look around the city. It's different for the restaurants, you know. It's different for stores. It's different for everybody, and it's the same throughout not just the country but the world. So this is something that no one has a manual as to how to navigate this in any kind of way. So I think what has to happen is that number one, we have to try to be smart. You know, I think we all have to try to do our parts to keep everything as safe as we possibly can. And then, you know, the whole social distancing thing and all of that, it plays a huge part in us being able to at least get this under control. So, yeah, it's different for me, but this is the one time where I can say it's different for everyone that's involved in the NBA and throughout the whole country and the whole world, really.
What's the status now of some of the guys who weren't playing when the season stopped, who were theoretically on pace to be better by now, like Kenrich and Darius?
Well, you know, they've been working, and they've been working extremely hard. So, you know, we get back and we get practice times, you know, before we play, and you'll have to evaluate your team quickly and try to put them back together and try to get them to the point where the chemistry is still there. And you know, what you do in these situations, as you know, I did and a lot of coaches did, is that you go back and you review all the games and you look at things that you may want to change a little bit, or something that you may want to add, or something that wasn't very efficient that you want to take out. So those are all the things that happens in these situations. So, but I think guys continue to work and try to get better.
And are there any restrictions? And obviously, that was a big story with Zion and the playing time restrictions, and because of the format and so forth, and the value he has to the franchise future. Any discussions about that?
Well, we're not going to go down and play guys 40 minutes. You know, that doesn't make sense, I don't think. And we'll have a gauge. You know, obviously we got a tremendous medical staff, and we've already communicated with them, and we'll talk to the players, and you know, but we'll try to do what's right as far as being competitive, giving us an opportunity to win. But obviously we're not going to risk anything from as far as long-term future with players that's going to be an integral part of our franchise.
Do we have any more questions for Coach Gentry? Breaking 100 on a regular basis.
Yeah, I go by that great house on my way to the golf course every day. You know, that mansion, you know, right there on Fillmore. It's pretty impressive, okay?
Fillmore and Arbonne, to be correct. Yes, it's beautiful.
Oh, that's it, guys? God, it's good seeing everyone. It really is. And, you know, I'm looking forward to just getting this thing going again. You know, it's been a long, long wait. You know, I've been here the entire time, and I have really found out and driven through every neighborhood from here to Baton Rouge. So if you throw out your address, I can tell you where you live. Okay, that's been the thing that I've done the most here. You know, but being stuck in the house for 20, 22 hours a day is not a whole lot of fun. So.
Great. Thank you very much, Coach. Thanks, everybody.
All right, guys. Appreciate you. You know that.
Yeah, thanks, Alvin.
All right.
Appreciate it, bud.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Coach. Good luck.
All right. Thank you.
Sir.
All right.
JD, thanks, man.
Yes, sir.
Thanks. I appreciate it.